Women who dated older men as teenagers that now realize they were predators. What's your story?
My first boyfriend was 22 years old. I was probably 13, 14 something. He was very controlling, the kind that tells me I'm not allowed to say no if he asks anything. He used to ignore me for days and not reply to me. And very often made me send him nudes, and I really hated it. But I wasn't allowed to refuse, or he would go find a girl who would satisfy him, a true woman. And I didn't see anything wrong at the time with this, but at least I didn't have sex with him even though he suggested that. Now I'm 21, and when I look back and think about it, I just feel so much shame and burden. And just asked myself why, and wonder, didn't he see that I was a freaking child? And I get filled with sadness. And I feel like that happening in such a young age really contributed to things I have done and hate. All I can take from this is to be careful in the future and make sure it won't happen to my own kids.
He did see that you were a child. That's why he was there.
I was 13 with a 22-year-old boyfriend. He made me feel special, grown up. My friends were all jealous, tbh he was hot. A predator but a solid 10 tenths. We met on Xbox Live, those were the days, and started a relationship. I was in my ugly duckling phase, so was drawn into it by the attention. No boys my own age seemed interested in me. I was bullied a bit, and it was nice for a good-looking, older boy to think I was pretty. He slowly pressured me into sex, started with pushing me into sexual acts on webcam, to oral, then full sex. He always insisted on filming everything because he loved me so much. He wanted to only use our videos as porn. What I wasn't aware of was the fact he was showing all his friends, and they made bets on how quickly he could get me to do something else. Whenever I pushed back, he always said, if I wanted to date a man I needed to act like a woman, otherwise he would find a girl more willing to have a proper relationship with him. He then tried to pressure me into sleeping with his friends, started with a threesome, him included. Then one night he asked me to just sleep with his friend. I saw his friend give him money, which is when I realized this whole thing was a lie, and left.
As a 21-yo with 13-yo sister, I feel disgusted by this. I mean, you were a child and he took advantage of your insecurities. May he rot in hell.
I met a dude on Adult Swim's forums back when I was around 12. He was 24 and was nice to me. Things always seemed hanky to me even from the beginning, but I had no friends in real life and was definitely in an ugly duckling place, so I figured that if this is who is going to pay attention to me, so be it. He would tell me the things he wanted to do to me and eventually sent me a hideously low-res picture of his, and all I remember is trying to laugh it off and said I thought he sent me a picture of a sock. Eventually, he started asking that if we met in person, if he could tie me up and take nudes of me. He started talking about buying a plane ticket to visit me and for my address, and I guess I finally had a bad enough gut feeling and didn't go through with it. My family eventually found out about us talking, and it was a huge deal. I was rightfully banned from the internet for a while, not that it mattered much, because I wound up meeting another awful dude older than me, but this one was locally grown. Lol. Jesus Christ, the same exact thing happened to me. The way my parents found out was because he ordered me a Hollister hoodie and mailed it to my house. I gave him my address. He was 33 and I was 12. My first boyfriend, I was barely 15, he was 21. Worked in a local shop and all the girls at my school liked him, so came as a bit of a surprise when the biggest dork ever, me, somehow landed him and not any of the popular girls. We dated for maybe 4 months, turned out he was sleeping with 3 girls in my year, which I found confusing because I begged him to take my virginity to no avail. Always found that really weird and insulting that he never even wanted to sleep with me. Plot twist. My mom had stormed into the shop when we first started dating and told him, if you take my daughter's virginity, I will kill you with my bare hands. God bless my mom. I went on a few dates with a 28-year-old when I was 18. My parents weren't concerned at all, which is weird because they didn't even want me to kiss a boy until I was 16. He texted that he was standing outside my middle school waiting for me. I broke out in a cold sweat and I knew I had made a massive mistake. Edit. Some comments have been asking for details. I hesitate, because it is shameful and I know in my heart it was wrong and part of it is not my story to tell. But maybe this can be a cautionary story for other young women? I was going down a bad path when I was 14. I looked up to a friend that lived by her own rules. She did whatever she wanted and didn't care about consequences. If I wanted to be in with her and her friends, I couldn't be a baby, I had to do grown-up things. One day my friend came to me and casually told me she had slept with a 19-year-old, and over the course of our conversation it came out that he hadn't used a condom. I got her help, I had to lie to do it, but my friend was angry that the guy wouldn't answer her texts. I told her to give me his number, stupidly thinking I could appeal to him to apologize and do right by her. I was trying to get him to text her back and work things out, but the next thing I know he's asking me for my picture. He wants to know if I'm really who I say I am. I should have stopped there, but I sent him the picture. Next thing I know he starts saying how cute I am while my friend is reading his texts back to me at the same time. The whole thing is surreal. My friend looks like she's ready to blow the whole thing over and she swears up and down she's not going to bother about the guy anymore. We let it drop. The guy keeps texting me for the next few days trying to wheedle me and I get this awful idea in my head. If I won't stop being treated like a baby, I have to do what my friend does, right? She doesn't care about rules or boundaries, so why should I? And I did something terrible. I flirted back at him. Things started to escalate. He would ask for nude pictures, he sent me graphic videos. Then he started planning for us to meet and have sex, always in public places. I was scared and I knew I had gone too far. I tried to blow him off. I thought he would lose interest after that, but that was the day when he texted me that he was at my school. A lot of things from those years fill me with shame, but this is the hardest to deal with because I know I didn't do right by my friend. No matter what our friendship was like, I should have told the truth and gotten her help even if it got her in trouble. It took me a long time to realize we were both being preyed upon, and I'm not sure if my friend ever saw it that way.
God, what did you do?
I filed out behind a huge group of kids and ran home. I never saw him, so I'm not sure where he was. I called off my wedding 3 months before it happened. Why? I was a 17-year-old, I'd have been 18 at the time of the wedding, about to marry a 26-year-old man that had been dating me for 3 years. I was a victim about to marry her abuser. The engagement ring, which I did eventually find out was fake, he has money. Lots of it, but that didn't matter to me, was to buy my consent/silence/whatever as he stuck his in everything that moved. He was an alcoholic, a narcissist, a pedophile. Seriously, I wasn't a 14-year-old that looked like an 18-year-old. I was a 14-year-old that looked like a 12-year-old. I loved him because I thought he was saving me from my horrid situation with my family. My mom and I moved in with her boyfriend, only to find out too late that he was an abuser. He'd take me away from it, even if it was just for a little while. I was so messed up. I ended up living in a boarding house when things finally broke in my abusive household because, of course, I was 17 and he didn't want me to move in until I turned 18. His career depended on a squeaky clean image. I ended up pregnant, having a violent end to my pregnancy that resulted in my daughter's stillbirth. Despite this all, I loved him. But he started picking at my appearance. I was gaining too much weight even though I was at a healthy weight for my age, height. I had gotten hips and breasts. So we talked about dieting. I stopped eating. I drank water when I'd get hungry. Everything had to be low fat, low calorie, no calorie, and sugar free. It worked. I went from healthy to underweight. What made me realize that I wanted out was a box of chicken wings. I ended up moving back in with my mother after she was able to escape her ex. We lived near an indoor flea market / farmer's market that had the most amazing food vendors. I love food, and this diet was killing me. I was fucking miserable. So, I decided to have a cheat day, and I went and ordered a box of hot wings from the chicken place in the farmer's market. As I sat down with my favorite movie, eating my favorite food, I realized that the extreme dieting would always be my life. I also realized that he wanting me to be so unhealthy wasn't right. I was tired all the time, cold all the time, hungry all the time. I decided, while happily munching on that box of wings, I was done. I called him, told him that I was done. It took me another 3 years to truly be done, but the very expensive wedding was done and over. He never got any deposits back. It took me almost a decade to realize that he wanted me to look like a 14-year-old forever. I was also always dismissive about the age difference, citing that I was mature for my age. I now realize it didn't matter. I was a child.
It honestly never clicked for me until I was much older myself. I just thought I was super mature, and that's why it wasn't weird that I was 14 with a 19-year-old boyfriend. It was a super toxic relationship. He cheated on me, stole from me, lied to me and lied about me so much. He pretty much only came around when he wanted sex and would tell me whatever he thought I needed to hear to keep stringing me along. In my naivete, I thought this was just how grown-up relationships were. So I stayed, until I finally got fed up at 18 years old. Isn't it funny that when I was finally old enough to date him, I no longer wanted to? I thought I was cooler than the other girls in my grade because my boyfriend was a man. Looking back, I'm sure I was an easy lay, as I didn't require much from him in return like people his own age might have. And as I got older, I wondered if he ever felt odd having sex with someone who was so clearly a child. I also wondered how none of his friends, they all knew my real age, thought it was weird or called him out on it. I think that's the system they speak of when they say this kind of behavior takes a village of people who were not willing to protect the child. The irony of it all is that karma has blessed him with 3 daughters, and I'm sure he's had the scary thought, more than once, that another him will come along and treat his girls the way he treated me. Edit: to everyone saying 5 years isn't a big age difference, 5 years didn't matter when I was 18 and he was 23, but I was 14 when started dating, and when we starting having sex. I was a freshman in high school and he was a sophomore in college. He could buy cigarettes and vote and go to nightclubs or join the army. I was riding my bicycle to friends' houses because I wasn't even old enough for a learner's permit. To the people saying they have friends who are 19 and they are 14 or the like, I can't speak on your friendships, but I can tell you, he and I weren't friends. We were having a sexual relationship, which in all 50 states falls under the criminal code for statutory rape. Thank you for the award, kind stranger.